Well, Fort Myers, Florida, beautiful. What a beautiful sunny day in southwestern Florida. Oh, it's the freest. Sorry, Texas, the freest state in the union. Love it. All right, folks, huge show because today, and there's a Skycam. Say hello to Skycam. We have a bunch of guests. Like we do one guest. Sometimes we do no guests, but sometimes a day like today, we are just jam-packed with some amazing guests. Get this. We have Kid Rock. He's going to join us later in the show to talk about President Trump, his kid's relationship with Elon Musk, and his upcoming concerts. We also have Peter Navarro coming on in just a second, senior counselor for trade and manufacturing under President Trump. We got Bo Dietl, a former New York detective who's also been in a lot of movies. He's going to come in and talk to us about one of the new De Niro movies. It's like this woke leftist thing that Netflix has put up. Representative Tim Burchett, and we have a lot more coming up, and we have Bannon at the end of the day. Navarro is, I think he's at the White House, somewhere in the White House grounds in D.C. somewhere, getting to the camera, and we're going to get him up in just a second. Do we have Bo up? Do we have Bo Dietl up? I see a picture of Bo. Control, hey, Mad Diggity Dog, Mad Dog Samurai.
Yes, sir, we have Bo.
We have Bo. Okay, let's bring in Bo Dietl. Bo, I'm going to bring you in early because I'm going to run a little bit of a sound bite of this movie called 0 Day, and you went to see it. So, folks, there's Bo Dietl. Hold on, sit right there for 1 second. Bo, 0 Day, Robert De Niro's new mini-series, not doing so well. Reviews, not looking too good. Here's a little snippet. Watch. Yeah, Bo, the reason why you're the right person for this segment, well, you're a former New York City police detective, but you're also a huge media personality. You're an actor. Well, you have a few things to say about this. I think I've known Bo for 25 years, folks. Bo, one of the first things I've seen you in, you were in Goodfellas. You were the cop that bangs on Ray Liotta's window, right? That was you, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That was a few years ago. So go ahead. Tell us about this woke piece of garbage that De Niro just put together. By the way, I read a little bit about it. I mean, this is clearly De Niro being a complete leftist progressive nut job. But go ahead. Go for it.
Well, first of all, Eric, you look great. You look so handsome with that beard. Let me tell you something. You look Hollywood handsome. So I go to the premiere the other night. I take Margot with me, and we go there. We go with Nick Pileggi, the screenwriter that wrote. He plays the part. De Niro's involved with this. So what happened was they were talking about Al Pacino playing Vito Genovese, him playing Frank Costello. Nope. De Niro wants it all. He takes it all. He looks like the same character throughout the movie. It sucked. And you want to know something? All I can say is they had some actors in there. The only Catherine Narducci was really good, and Debbie Mazur was good. Other than that, you didn't know anybody else. So now they do the story. And the story is they actually have a character named the Chin. You heard of Vinny the Chin Gigante. And the reason why he was called the Chin was because whenever you speak about him, you're not able to.
Bubba, let me jump in because so folks understand. So Vinny the Chin, there are different names for various high-level mobsters in New York back in the day when the Five Families ran the whole Northeast, maybe the whole country, and Vinny the Chin was one of them. That, he would touch like this. So they had quirks. There were quirks.
Right, but they wouldn't confer with Nick Pileggi, the great screenwriter. He was the one that put me on the cover of New York Magazine back in 1986 when I retired from the police department as a homicide detective. So Nick was never conferred. They took the screenplay, De Niro took it, and now you have Barry Levinson. I didn't get a chance to see him. I was going to say, you know what? I'll help you pack your bags. And we do remember him in front of the courthouse in Manhattan, making a fool of himself against this great president, Donald Trump. And you want to know something? Politics should stay the hell out of acting and actors. You're an actor, act. I don't want to hear your opinions about politics. It just takes away from it all. And hey, Rosie O'Donnell, she took a plane to Ireland. Stay over there, chubby. Stay over there. We don't need you, Rosie.
Stay over there,
my
Rosie.
God.
Stay over there, Rosie. Usually we book Bo on a crime story, or we've talked to Bo about, Bo, by the way, is a friend of, I call it loose friendship with Mayor Eric Adams. That guy is all over the place.
Loose.
All of a sudden he becomes, no offense, Bo, you and I disagreed with him about him for a long time. You're kind of your friend, whatever. I get it, but he was He was a snake. And now look at him now.
Oh,
As soon as the heat gets turned up, he loves Trump.
no. Hold on one second. I raised a lot of money for him. I believed in him. He could have been the greatest mayor in this city. A lot of people don't know it's not about upgrades on Turkish airline tickets. There was, I think, $6.8 billion on the migrants. Security. Let me not go any further than that. I did no security for my friend Eric Adams. There was reasonings behind it. There are hundreds of millions of dollars that are unaccounted for. That's the real serious crime. As far as I'm concerned, Eric Adams should go, retire, quit, get out of here. I don't like him anymore. I don't like people that are sleazetatious. You know what sleazetatious is, Eric? He's a sleazy person. And I was going to use another vernaculation, but I don't want to get thrown off the air, you know?
Get thrown off the air. Funny story. I'm having dinner with my wife in Fort Lauderdale, some restaurant, a cafe in Marano, and I look up on the board and sure enough, Bo is in a movie with the owner of the restaurant, Steve Materano, as well. Bo, you're all over the place, brother. Yeah.
Here in New York City, Eric, we have choices for the mayor. Of course, I like the guy with the red hat, the guardian angel head. And
yeah, Curtis
he's a great
Lewa.
guy.
Slewa.
I wish Curtis Lewa could win, but
Yep.
reality is going to be very tough. Now, here's your choices. And I'm turning back to Andrew Cuomo again. They need a leader in New York. And it was talked about with the bail reform that he did a screwed up job. Part of his thing was where you gave judges the effectability to set bail, which they didn't. If you're an appointed judge in the city, you could be removed by the mayor or the governor. My whole point is bail reform was good for kids smoking pot. You know, they shouldn't be put in jail.
Hey,
and I agree with that.
Bo, I love you, brother. This is a very free-flowing show. This is a cable news show, goes everywhere on networks.
I come back.
But I want to bring it back because I got Peter Navarro, who's he's calling
I love
in.
Peter Navarro,
yeah,
too.
he's got a tight window here. Bo, to say goodbye to you is to say thank you. We'll bring you back very soon. Thank you, Bo. And let's bring in now the senior counselor for trade and manufacturing under President Trump, Peter Navarro. Pete, good to have you back. Pistol Pete Navarro, folks. Really good to see you.
That was hilarious, Eric.
Yeah,
and it's so nice to see you, man. Oh, man.
I love
De Niro,
having you,
don't get
brother.
me
I
started.
love that the White House logo is over your
Yes.
left shoulder there, my brother. I'm so thrilled to
Yes.
see you back where you belong, not what they did to you, a couple of years ago. Good to see you back, Peter. So many things going on. I have a bunch of things I wanted to talk to you about. Inflation's going down. We got some great inflation numbers. Control Mad Dog, do you have that soundbite of Hakeem Jeffries claiming inflation's going up, food prices going up, and underneath it, pay very careful attention to this. You see the actual inflation number going down. This is the most hypocritical comment we've seen in a long time. Watch.
We have the Republicans on the run on three different issues. We have them on the run with respect to the economy. Donald Trump and House Republicans promised that they were going to lower the high cost of living. But instead, costs haven't gone down. They've gone up. Inflation is going up. Why? Because Donald Trump and Republicans haven't been focused on doing anything to lower the high cost of living. Not a single bill. Not a single executive action, not a single administrative order. We, as House Democrats, have to make sure we forcefully make the case to everyday Americans that we are trying to build an affordable economy. We know that costs are too high, and we know that people are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. And that should never happen in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We got to hold the line as it relates to the economic narrative, and we see that.
Let's get out of this guy. Let's cut that guy. Pete, I mean, the guy is literally saying what now in the last 4 years under Biden. Now he thinks it's happening under Trump. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, he might have used the no comment there that he was fond of using with Mr. Schumer a few days ago. Look, with respect to inflation, Eric, you're right. Every single indicator that we're seeing is heading downwards since the president took over, and over the last 50 plus days now, we've seen, importantly, gas prices and oil prices falling, interest rates are falling, egg prices are falling. The last consumer price index and producer price index data that came in all indicated that things are heading in the right direction, which is to say down rather than up. We had a very good jobs report that came out. I think what's important for people to understand here is that in Trump 1.0 in the first term, Eric, we had a very aggressive strategy, multi-textured strategy to grow our economy with price stability. It was deregulation, it was drill baby drill, it was tax cuts, and it was fair trade. That was the four wheels of the engine, and that's exactly what we got. And remember, in the first term, as we put on historic tariffs on communist China, as we put on the historic tariffs on steel, aluminum, washing machines, solar, and a whole host of other things, instead of getting inflation like the media and the globalists said, we got price stability, more jobs, and $15 billion worth of investment, by the way, in the U.S. steel industry. Trumpnomics 2.0 adds the DOGE component, which is the war on waste, fraud, and abuse, which is going to help us reduce our government debt and take our interest rates down.
I talk to so many people, and I don't have an access to Elon. I used to have access to Trump, whatever. You need to hear this and get this. I mean this. What DOGE is doing. So when Biden left office at the end of his last term, when he came into office, he spent like a drunken sailor. Inflation went up because government spending creates inflation. We all know that. We all agree on that, both sides. When he left office, he jacked them, threw out a bunch of money right before he left. Inflation jacked up for the first report of the Trump term. When DOGE takes money out, when DOGE saves taxpayer money from government spending, it's a deflationary activity. And you guys, I love you. Get that message out. DOGE is creating deflation in our economy. DOGE. And then the left, they have no argument, my friend. I love you. I hope you bring it to them.
Repeat after me, Eric. The 3D war on inflation, 3 dimensions: drill baby drill, deregulation, DOGE. That's kind of why I'm here talking to you. I am trying to get that message out. The boss is getting that message out. Good. The problem we have with the legacy media, Eric, is that they have a vested interest in taking Trump down. They want him out because A, they don't like him, and B, their commercials are paid for by the globalist interests that like to send our jobs offshore and have open borders and bring cheap illegal labor. One of the most incredible statistics that will go down in history, Eric, is this. During the Biden administration, there was over 1 million new jobs created, and they all went to illegal aliens. And then the 500,000 or so jobs that people lost were lost by American citizens. It's like, wow. I mean, that's the world that Donald Trump is trying to change. The American people understand that what we're trying to do in Trump land is basically rebuild our manufacturing and defense industrial
some
base.
Good numbers,
sure
Pete. You got some good numbers.
Wages.
White House put some good numbers out today. That manufacturing looks like it's turning in the right direction. Can we just, because you're the guy, the trade guy, tell us where we stand. Give us kind of a scorecard or what inning are we in? How we doing with the various tariffs? Are they going to happen April 2nd? Will anyone renegotiate? Where do we stand?
I urge everybody to look at the executive order that was signed. It was the next to the last one signed on day one. I was there in the Oval when it was signed. It was called the America First Trade Policy. And Eric, what it does is it lays out the complete 100-day timeline for all the different areas that we're going to do with respect to the trade agenda. We started off with the Canada, Mexico, China tariffs, which were purely an economic national emergency based on fentanyl killing hundreds of thousands of Americans over the last few years. I mean, that is like carnage. So we've had great success using those tariffs. I mean, the border flood is down to a trickle now. We've seen some success so far on fentanyl, albeit there's a long way to go. So there's that bucket. April 2nd is the day that the president is going to announce the reciprocal trades, and that's a simple concept, Eric. I mean, who could argue with this proposition? We will charge them what they charge us. And the reason why we have to do that, Eric, is because every major country in the world that we trade with has either higher tariffs than we do and or higher
it's only
non-tariff
fair.
barriers. That's not fair.
It's fair, and it gets us all, the whole world, on an even playing field. Peter, I'm going to lose you because I have a national heartbeat. I don't want to do. I love you. I want to bring you back. You are a great guest.
Of course.
You are a wonderful guest. I got to get you back ASAP, my friend Peter Navarro.
Well, I love Real America's Voice
Good man
too,
right
and the
there,
Sig
folks.
family, and they do a heck of a job, and good for them.
Good
so,
man
Rob, my
in
brother,
the
and
right
Parker,
place.
love you too. Eric, great to see you back in the saddle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Peter. Have you back ASAP. Love to do a regular segment with you. Peter Navarro, everyone. All right, folks, we got to go. Got to come back in 2 minutes. Well, Mad Dog always surprises me. Nashville, Tennessee, we call it affectionately Nash Vegas because it's almost like you're in Vegas, except it's much colder in the winter. What a great town. What a great, great city. In fact, it's probably one of the only places besides Vegas where, I don't know, you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, go for a walk, and people are still partying at the bars and restaurants on the street. What a fun place, Nashville, Tennessee. And by the way, folks, later, coming up in the show, Kid Rock is here and he talks about the president and his relationship, the president's relationship with Elon and Kid Rock's. It's going to be a great interview. Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee has been busy. He's a member of the House DOGE'S subcommittee and has introduced the No Tax Dollars for Terrorists Act, as well as the Defense Against Drones Act. Well, thank Congressman Tim Burchett, for being here. Congressman, before we get into some of that other stuff, everyone is waiting, at least online. I've been probably been waiting for a couple of months now, maybe a couple of years even. The JFK files, are we going to see them? And what are we going to see if we do, in fact, see them, sir?
Well, thank you for having me on. I had actually had lunch with Kid Rock a couple of weeks ago. He brought in tacos, and we were supposed to hang out about an hour. And about 3 hours later, I left his little White House up there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's a good friend. He's a great patriot, and he loves Trump, and I dig him. He's been good to me
stick
for
around.
several years.
Stick around after our interview a little bit later. We'll have Kid Rock for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Back to the Kennedy files. Yeah, President Trump's going to release about 70,000 files. He promised he was going to do that. Elections have consequences. Donald Trump's kept his word. But I would warn people, I think they're going to have to probably pace this thing out a little bit. They won't dump them all at once. I think. And people are going to go down every rabbit hole that's on there. And you got to realize some of that stuff that's in there is not truthful. It was, they found out some of the stuff later wasn't true, and maybe some of it was planted at some point. But I honestly don't think nobody's ever going to know exactly. I think Roger Stone probably knows more about it than anybody. He thinks there's a tie-in with LBJ. I think there's a lot of things. I think you had a complacent federal government structure, the sewer or swamp or whatever you call it, uniparty, people that were unhappy with Kennedy. He wanted to dismantle the CIA. The mob was mad at him, and several others, and LBJ, of course.
Why won't we see the whole thing? I mean, we were promised that. I mean, and there was this little.
We're going to say. I mean, it's over 60 years, and they're still protecting it. So they're protecting the structure. It's kind of like the church.
Who's they?
They don't care much about protecting Jesus, but they protect the structure of their buildings. And that's sort of what this thing's about. It's about ego, pride, and control. And that's what Washington's all about. And I just think it's gone too long. I don't think we'll ever know. There's no way in hell Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole shooter in that thing. It was the gun he used was a Mannlicher Italian carbine. It was written. I've got one. It was written up in a magazine as being the only gun that never won a war. It was a terrible gun. He could have gone into a Western Auto and bought an M1 carbine or an M1 Garand with a sniper scope on it for probably under $50 back then, and walked out the door with it.
So who's hiding? Who's protecting this information? And why can't we just see it all at once? Let us do the dirty work.
Well, Trump's going to let us, but that's been the fight up to this point, and I just think that the trail has been swept clean since then, and I just don't think we'll ever actually know who did it. I read a book called "I Heard You Paint Houses," and there was a great Netflix movie on it, which I loved. It's actually one of the few books that I've read in recent memory. And they always talked about how they get a stooge. Every assassination, you saw Martin Luther King, some country bumpkin thug, takes out the most powerful civil rights leader in the world, and they catch him in London, England. Bobby Kennedy, killed by Saran. He's a little doped out little guy, didn't know where he was probably. Lee Harvey Oswald, he traveled to Russia, he traveled to Mexico, met with possibly Cuba, met with at the Russian embassy, a Marine Corps sniper. He was an odd bird, and they always do that. They always get a stooge, and then they take the fall, and then the big boys keep running the world.
Who is hiding? FBI? Are you saying there are factions within the FBI that have interest in keeping?
Yeah, he said he was going to break up the CIA. He was going to disclose some other things, and the mob. He was supposed to have when he got in, he was supposed to back off, and him and Bobby went after the mob. They went after the Teamsters, and there was that element. So I think you had complacent government departments, and you had people willing to take him out to send a message. We're all useful to the big boys until we're not. Case in point, the kid that shot President Trump. They were washing off the roof of that thing. I think the blood had hardly dried. Somebody gets killed in Knox County or city of Knoxville, they're gonna cordon off that area. It's going to be a 10 over it. There's going to be an investigation. They couldn't get rid of that evidence. Then they cremated the kid. And we still don't know what, he didn't have a social media presence. So look, there's powers that be in this world, in this country. You can follow the money, but until we get past 12% of the population elected in Congress, I don't think we're going to get much.
Wild. I just, we were told.
And hey, I just want you to know, I'm not suicidal. So if you find me tomorrow with 12 bullet holes in the back of my head, it's probably not done by myself.
You're not. You're hanging out with Kid Rock for 3 hours. You're not suicidal. You may have a hangover that make you want to feel suicidal, but it's really not because
I'm a teetotaler. He's fine. He knows me, and he's a legitimate dude. He's straight up. Got
it. Well, you know what? These things trickled out. There's this sort of like phase one thing. There was a binder of all the stuff we already knew. I think it was, I love Pam and Cash, but I think that was, I'll be honest. You have to be honest here. I think it was mishandled. I think either let it out or don't, but let's see it. Congressman, I would love to bring you back. I want to talk about this some more and some of the DOGE stuff that you're doing great work. Love having you on.
I would love that.
We ran out of time. My fault, mismanaged of time. I just love this JFK story a lot.
Me too, brother. Let's keep it up. Maybe between the two of us, we can get some truth out.
And by the way, I'm not suicidal either. So if I'm not here tomorrow, folks. All right, Congressman, good talking to you, Congressman Tim Burchett from
Thanks,
Tennessee.
brother.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks. We'll be right back again. Kid Rock coming up soon. There we go. Wildwood, New Jersey. Mad Dog, get on. Can I get voice of God, Mad Dog? That's South Jersey, right? I used to live in southern.
Yes, sir.
I used to live in New York, but I had a place
I didn't know this.
In southern Jersey. Wildwood's a little further south. That's a really fun place. Real family-oriented, great little city, and great waves, by the way. If you're into waves on the East Coast up north, it's a great, cold water though. Coming up later in the show, we have American conservative rock star Kid Rock. He's going to join us. You're going to love this interview. All righty. Everyone, I have a question for all of the Democrats out there. If any of you are listening, which I'm sure you are, this one is for you. How far is too far? Do you guys know when to stop? I understand disagreeing with the President Trump or your local congressperson or your Republican peers. In fact, I support that. Differing opinions are normal, healthy. Some of the best ideas come when people don't initially see eye to eye. But seriously, how many times can you guys make your stupid signs, grab your megaphones, and threaten the country with violence before you realize that your complaining is getting you absolutely nowhere? Protests like this one will never move the needle for you Dems. Don't you get it?
Get this man out of here now. And if that doesn't happen, and we're not promoting it for 1 second, but if that doesn't happen, there will be violence. Yes. And these people had the opportunity to stop it. And they didn't.
No, they just sound like whiny. Just you lost. Just start over. Find a new line. Next up, a woman who needs no introduction at all, at least on this show. America's dumbest congresswoman. I don't know, is she the dumbest or is AOC? Jasmine Crockett. I think we need to do a poll every couple of days. Who's the dumbest congresswoman in Congress? Is it Jazzy Jasmine Crockett from Texas or AOC Ocasio-Cortez from New York? I'm not sure. Well, Jazzy Crockett seems to love the thought of having violent migrant gang members right here in America.
Well, my argument is that we already have tools that are available to remove undocumented violent people from our country. And so the idea that you want to go into a zombie law, this is kind of like what we saw in Arizona when they decided to revive a zombie law around abortion. It is the fact that we can't trust this administration to actually use a scalpel, but instead they love to use a butcher knife on things. And so giving them this wide latitude to just kind of go across and just claim that anybody is anything is wrong.
I'm laughing because on our Rumble feed, Angris68 says they're tied. They're tied for the dumbest. I love it. Nicole Wallace really went on live television. Really did this. By the way, Nicole Wallace she was the press secretary for George Bush. She was a Republican. She went on live television and compared Trump's alien deportations, those illegal aliens, to the internment of Japanese Americans during the Second World War. She really did it. Listen.
Is a constitutional crisis now officially upon us? From the invocation of an 18th century law that was the basis for some of the darkest chapters in America's history, things like the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, now being used to deport hundreds of people, to the sudden removal of an immigrant doctor here legally, both moves seemingly from what we know at this hour, at the time in open defiance of court orders. A series of developments over the last 48 hours point to a Trump administration acting as though it is now unencumbered by the law and things like court rulings.
Little history lesson for you, Nicole Wallace. The Japanese were interned because of their race. The people who were sent back by Trump were sent back because they're criminals, not because of the race. Didn't matter where they came from. They're criminals. First of all, they broke the law by being here, but they were criminals. Gang members. Tren del Agua. Are you kidding me? Send them back. Nicole, dummy, crybaby. Adam Kinzinger posted a cute little rant threatening and calling out the president, as you may expect. It was incoherent, completely self-emasculated himself, and yet he still pressed share when it was time to post. Watch.
So I just saw that Trump is like threatening the January 6th committee again. Listen, this dude knows that this is like the thing that embarrasses him. He won't admit it embarrasses him because he's trying to like pretend like he didn't do anything. He's obsessed. He's more obsessed with like me and Liz Cheney than his frickin' golf score. Hey, Trump, bring it on, dude. You weak, whiny, tiny man who, by the way, I saw a picture of you this weekend. You're hiking up your pants now to really just below your man boobs and you're sweating so much. Like, looking pretty bad there. But bring it, man.
Let's get out of this nut job. I'm surprised he wasn't crying, you crybaby Adam Kinzinger. Shut the hell up, loser. I hope he goes after you. Throw you and Liz Cheney in the Huskow. Look it up. Look up Huskow. Up next, the one, the only, Mr. Kid Rock. You don't want to miss it.
It was 1989, my papa showed my hair was long, caught somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was 5 from in between.
All right, let's bring in my good friend. I'm going to say my good friend, Kid Rock. I've known Kid Rock, international superstar rocker, just all-time great celebrity. I hear he's a pretty damn good pickleball player, too. So I hear, Kid Rock, really good to have you, my friend. If I might start out with this, Trump plus Elon. We haven't talked in a long time on tape. Trump plus Elon, how does a wealthy New York billionaire president, 78 years old, end up becoming bros with Elon Musk, a younger tech guru bro, and then celebrities and rock stars like you? How did he get the whole world behind him, Kid Rock?
Man, I mean, I think Elon just got on board because he wanted to help his country. He saw the the waste and the crap. I mean, what were you going to do? What were your choices, to go for the Democratic Party, and their disarray that they've been in with Kamala Harris? Trump's, proven himself the first 4 years to be the smartest guy in the room, hands down. And he's a lot of fun beyond that. So, I mean, I just think it makes sense. Somebody wanted to help their government, didn't want to get paid for it, wanted to help their country. So, of course, he's going to come in. I got to know Trump early on in his administration, was a big supporter from when he came down the escalator. And, he's done nothing but prove me right.
Kid, how do you feel? I think Bannon calls people like you and I original gangster MAGA crew. How do you feel about the newbies? How do you feel about Bezos coming on board, or Mark Zuckerberg coming on board, or that lunatic Lindy Lee, who used to be a Kamala Harris advisor, supporter, senior aide, all of a sudden saying, I didn't really like them. Now I'm pro-Trump. I know we want the bigger party, we want everyone on board, but I feel a little offended by it. How about you?
I mean, I think they got to prove themselves. That's the bottom line. They got to, you can come in and, people call it kiss the ring or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, sleep with one eye open with them and, let them prove, what they believe in and who they support and what policies they get behind. And, if they want to keep, speaking of, Meta and all that, if they want to keep, what do they call it? Shadow boxing or shadow banning people like me and Joe Rogan and, certain outspoken people, I'm sure yourself. So, I just say sleep with one eye open, but welcome aboard. But, what was it? Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Ronald Reagan also, beware the Trojan horse. I agree with that one, kid. So Trump tends to kind of piss off the rest of the world. Let's be honest. I mean, Gulf of America, what a great idea. It's so logical, made so much sense. Gulf of America, Greenland, Canada, 51st state. This one created a bit of an international incident, I think. So there's a guy named Raphael Glucksmann. He's an MEP, which is a member of European Parliament, who said, we want our Statue of Liberty back. We're from France. We want our Statue of Liberty back. Listen to Caroline Levitt's response to that.
So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
What's Kid Rock's response to the French?
Boom, mic drop. Mic drop. That young lady is something else. She is a boss. Yeah. She is a boss. I mean, if they really want it back, I'd say just let's weld a big gold middle finger on it and send it back.
I was thinking someone can make one of those memes of the helicopter picking up the Statue of Liberty and like bang it, clang it around the Eiffel Tower and drop it back. You really want it? Take it. It's yours.
I think we got to remember. I think we got to remember. When these, like she said, these low-level, no-name politicians come in and say this stuff, we shouldn't let it divide us from there's. I know of several French people who run companies over there in Paris and stuff, and are good friends with them. They are huge Trump fans, huge, the pro-America agenda, and they wish they had more of that in their country. So, we got to remember, there's still good people in these countries, even though you got these knucklehead left-wing lunatic politicians always, spewing off this crazy stuff. So we got to remember, we got some good people over there, but yeah, France has got to definitely turn around some of their country.
Yeah, and how many Canadians do we have right here in America who will come up to me and say, 51st state, not a bad idea. A lot of Canadians would actually enjoy being part of the United States.
I think so. I mean, I know, we're actually on our Rock the Country tour taking Nickelback's headlining the Friday night with us. And I remember them telling me years ago, I was asking them about, socialized medicine. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but at the time, it was like, they were not, and I've talked to plenty of other Canadians. I mean, I'm from Detroit. We're, the only place in America where you can drive south to Canada. So, we spent a lot of time there as kids and especially touring, doing other things. And there's some great people in Canada. I'd say the majority when you get outside, like,
Yeah, but kid, what about these Canadian, this Canadian knucklehead, one of those parliament people who said, we're going to shut off electricity, power, and gas service to people in Detroit and in America if you don't stop with the tariff things. What's your message to them?
Good luck defending yourself if something bad goes down.
Yeah. Yeah, we are fortunate. We are, and they're lucky, just the proximity to the United States. You know,
I mean, they're basically going to try the bigger penis game with Trump, and they're not going to win.
I have no background to comment on whether that's an accurate or not accurate statement. I
Metaphor,
digress.
Eric. It's a metaphor.
I digress. Rock. So your concerts now. You talk about your tour, your concerts. Are you seeing a different crowd come out? Because for a while people were like, Kid Rock, but Trump. They didn't really know if they liked Trump or not. Now they love him. Young people just adore Trump now. Are you seeing a swoosh of support, especially for you?
I mean, I've been pretty fortunate, pretty blessed that things have kind of been slow and steady at the wheel for 25 years. It's always been a pro-American crowd. I mean, it's not like I just started riding out on American themed motorcycles and dropping American flags and everything else that I do. It's a big patriotism celebration at the show. So I mean, you definitely see kids now for sure. I don't know if things have really changed. I like to look at it. It's kind of like, it's when times are hard, you kind of weed out who your friends really are. And so that's kind of all it's done to me. The few people or however many there's been that panties are all in a bunch over my politics or standing up for what I believe in, loving my country, like good riddance, You're probably not going to have a great time at my show anyway. So
right, exactly. I'm not going to like your songs or your lyrics. I guess, Rock, before we let you go, the relationship with Trump, how you've always been close to him. Does you pick up the phone and your phone rings and says it's the White House's president wants to talk to Kid Rock? Is that how it goes down?
Yeah, he's got a direct number. I can't believe he's still got it as president. Just, it's 50-50. He's a busy guy, but I know the times to catch him. If I really have to talk to him about something a lot of times we just talk about anything. It's not, I don't drill him on politics 24/7. I'd love to get this ticketing thing, to put a cap on the resale of ticket prices. So, which is pretty far out for, us capitalists, people, deregulation people. But, speaking of France, they actually do it in France and it's worked, so working class people can afford to go to multiple shows because right now it's just ridiculous. And when I say, you don't see a lot of artists saying this or managers or people because we're actually making more money under the current system. But I've been the first one to say I'm a little overpaid. Like I would rather get my tickets into the hands of fans, So that's one thing I've drilled him about a little bit, which he's going to take some action on. We're going to see where it ends up.
Well, maybe Doge can wiggle into that area. Speaking of Doge,
he put Alina Habba on it. She's a pit bull. I love her.
She is. I thought she was going to be the press secretary, to be honest with you, but Caroline Leavitt's doing a great job, and either one of those two would be great. Elon, what's your relationship like with Musk? And you must cross paths with him the amount of time you're close to Trump. He's always seems to be there.
We text a little bit here and there, and I got to sit with him at the UFC fight when I first met him for 4 hours plus or something. Then he came out in the golf course and hung out with us. We had a great time there, had some lunch and stuff. So I would consider him a friend at this point. He's a lot of fun, man. I mean, it's kind of people always ask me that, what's it like? I'm like, we're always, every time I'm with him, we're laughing and clowning about something, like who had the weirdest outfit on the golf course. I'm trying to get some sun, so I'm golfing in a wife beater. It's 85 degrees. He comes out, he looks like a goth kid in like a black sport coat, black pants, and so I'm teasing him, and we're having good laughs. And you wouldn't think the guy has two nickels to rub together when you're hanging out with him. We're just, just fun,
just a couple of regular guys, the richest man in the world, one of the international rock star, Kid Rock, hanging out at the golf course. I would love to be hanging with you folks. And by the way, I'd be drinking vodka. I wouldn't be drinking the beer, just for the record. Kid Rock, remember everyone, go to these. He's got 3 separate tours going on. Kid, you want to give us a brief synopsis of what the 3 tours are?
Yeah, we got 7 arena shows. With Chris Jansen on a few, Uncle Cracker on a couple of other ones. And I mean, it's going to be a celebration of, of going into these next 4 years of, people who, got a lot of credit. We're going to celebrate, but we're going to celebrate with a lot of music and good times. It's not going to be all politics.
I love the rocky country too. I got to check out that Ocala, Florida one. Kid Rock, Appreciate your time. Very, very busy man. I know you're in rehearsals for your upcoming tours, and appreciate you making a few minutes for Bolling and 69 Minutes. Thank you so much, Kid Rock.
Thanks, Eric. You're the man.
See you soon. All right, folks. Be right back. Is that a town, Mad Dog? Mad Dog, is that pickleball court in New Jersey? That's a new town. That pickleball is so popular in this town. They just named the town. Let's just call ourselves, forget Bridgewater, let's call ourselves Pickleball Court, New Jersey. I love it. See how popular that is? I know my wife plays pickleball every single day. All right, let's bring in Mr. Kevin Bannon, because we had a great conversation with the one, the only Kid Rock just a minute ago. And Steve, I asked him a question specifically for us because, you know, we've been together on this thing. You started the movement. I've been a disciple of yours for 40 years, 30 years of this. Listen to Kid Rock assess the new people coming over to MAGA world. Listen. Kid, how do you feel? You know, I think Bannon calls people like you and I original gangster MAGA crew. How do you feel about the newbies? How do you feel about Bezos coming on board, or Mark Zuckerberg coming on board, or that lunatic Lindy Lee, who used to be a Kamala Harris advisor, supporter, senior aide, all of a sudden saying, I didn't really like them. Now I'm pro-Trump. I know we want the bigger party, we want everyone on board, but I feel a little offended by it. How about you?
I mean, I think they got to prove themselves. That's the bottom line. They got to, you can come in and, people call it kiss the ring or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, sleep with one eye open with them and, let them prove, what they believe in and who they support and what policies they get behind. And, if they want to keep, speaking of, meta and all that, if they want to keep, what do they call it? Shadow boxing or shadow banning people like me and Joe Rogan and, certain outspoken people, I'm sure yourself. So, I just say sleep with one eye open, but welcome aboard. But, what was it? Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Trust but verify. You agree with the great Kid Rock, Steve Bannon?
You can't. How am I going to go against an original gangster? No, I think it's very true. Look, we welcome folks, but you gotta, a lot of these people had their Damascene moment was 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 5th, and we got to go through some wars. Here's a great thing, Eric. We're going to go through some very choppy water over the next couple months. I think the audience here at REV and War Room understand that. Today it heated up, and I think we're going to find out who the summer soldiers and the sunshine patriots are. So I think Kid Rock was quite brilliant. Let's trust but verify.
Trust but verify. A couple things real quick. This judge that sent the Tren de Araguas, we tried to get him to come back to the United States. Turns out, I believe we found his daughter, Catherine. This is Judge James Boasberg. His daughter, Catherine, runs a 501c3, taking a lot of money from USAID, specifically for protecting illegals to stay into the country. I mean, you want to talk about conflict of interest, Steve?
They're so brazen. They're so brazen. Laura Loomer and others have been digging down to that. Correct. Eric, it just shows you. I mean, they're beyond hypocrites. They're brazen. And this is why they hate Trump. This is why Trump's an existential threat to the racket that is the swamp, sir.
Does it remind you, Steve, of Judge Merchan in New York, whose daughter ran that think tank or whatever, a PR group for a bunch of Democrats? I mean, their biggest risk was Trump winning the election, and he was trying to figure out a way to throw Trump in jail instead of allowing him to become president.
And Merchan only did backflips to get him, 32 felonies? So, yes, I think the American people see the hypocrisy. We have Loomer on and Garrett Ziegler to go through all this in the 5 to 7 hour tonight. So you're 100% correct. It just stinks to high heaven, and we got to make sure the American people fully understand what's going on this assault, this judicial insurrection, Eric, against President Trump.
I'll tell you what, Steve, I'm going to give it to you, but if you get Loomer on, get her on the JFK files, we'll finally find out what's really in those, brother. Have a great show and tell all folks we said hello from the 4 o'clock.
Thank you, brother. Just think grassy knoll. That's the operative word here.